What's going on, guys? Sean Nalawani here, SeanNal.com, BodyTransformationTruth.com. It is Monday afternoon here in Australia, start of another week, and in today's video, the subject is how to clean bulk without gaining fat. So how do you stay as lean as possible while gaining that muscle size and strength that you're after? Now, there are two pretty straightforward steps involved here. The first step is nutrition related, and the second one is training related. In terms of nutrition, implementing an effective clean bulk ultimately just comes down to controlling the size of your calorie surplus. That's really the central thing. So rather than just aimlessly eating a bunch of food without really tracking anything, which is of course referred to as dirty bulking, with clean bulking, you just want to create a small, more tightly controlled calorie surplus so that you're providing your body with just enough that it needs to either maximize or come close to maximizing muscle growth without taking in any unnecessary excess. Keep in mind that eating more calories does not guarantee more muscle growth, and your body can only build a limited amount of muscle over any particular period. So any excess calories that you take in above and beyond what your body can use to max out protein synthesis in a given day or a given week, that's just going to be stored as fat. Wait for it. Okay. Where was I? Now that's why I generally prefer that most people stick to a clean or at least a cleaner bulking approach. Because gaining a bunch of fat is really not fun. Even though right now you might think that you just want to get bigger, period, and you don't really care if you get fat. Trust me, if you do gain a bunch of fat, you're not going to enjoy it. And I speak from personal dreamer bulk experience. And secondly, dieting for fat loss is very tedious. And the more fat that you gain during your bulk, the longer you're going to have to diet for later on. Now, people will tell you that in order to clean bulk, you need to stick to clean foods and you need to increase your cardio, but that's not quite accurate. You can still clean bulk while using a flexible dieting approach and without even having to increase your cardio, because again, it's really just about controlling your overall net calorie surplus. If you're not really tracking anything in terms of diet, then yes, eating clean foods can help a bit because they're just lower in calories by default most of the time. And doing cardio can help because it will burn additional calories and reduce your surplus by default. But if you are tracking your diet, then you don't necessarily have to do those things. Now, you'll hear different numbers thrown around, but I would say for an effective clean bulk, you're going to want to go somewhere between 200 to 300 calories above your calorie maintenance level. You can go a little bit higher, you could go a little bit lower depending, but somewhere in that range is going to be about right. And from a nutritional perspective, that's basically it when it comes to clean bulking. Just create a small calorie surplus, track it, and focus on making gradual gains somewhere around that half a pound per week range. And if you're more advanced, then it's going to be even slower than that. Now, most people think of effective clean bulking only in terms of nutrition, but what you do in the gym is actually just as important. And I know that this is very basic advice, but are you actually training hard enough? Do you really train with a high enough level of intensity? And is there sufficient volume and frequency in your plan? Because if not, that's actually going to increase the percentage of your calorie surplus that gets diverted to your fat stores rather than into your muscles. I mean, think about the basic logic of muscle growth. You go into the gym and you train a given muscle, you stimulate a growth response in that muscle, and then you consume a calorie surplus. And your goal is to have as many of those excess calories diverted to muscle growth as possible. But if that growth response is weak, or if it's at least not as strong as it could be, because you're just not pushing yourself hard enough, then your body may not even need all of those extra calories that you're eating in order to fully recover. And as a result of that, a reasonable percentage of your calorie surplus, even if it is a smaller surplus to begin with, is still going to end up as body fat. It's a topic that actually doesn't get talked about that often, but muscle growth is an adaptive response to stress. And if the stress isn't high enough, you're not going to make optimal gains. You need enough total intensity, so within at least 1 to 2 reps of muscular failure on most sets. You need enough training volume. That's going to vary a lot depending on different factors, but somewhere between around 8 to 12 sets for larger muscle groups, maybe around 5 to 7 sets for smaller muscles. And you also need enough frequency. So usually that means hitting each muscle directly no less than once per week, and usually closer to twice a week for most people. You want all of those factors in place so that your body actually uses your calorie surplus primarily to fuel muscle growth. A lot of people just don't train that hard, and if that's the case, then it doesn't matter if you're clean bulking from a nutrition perspective, because you're still gonna gain fat since the muscle growth response that you're creating just isn't strong enough. So the bottom line on clean bulking, it's very simple, and it just comes down to maintaining a small calorie surplus. It's not necessarily about clean foods or about cardio, and it's definitely not about supplements. Just keeping that small calorie surplus in place and combining it with a training program that is properly structured in terms of training intensity, volume, and frequency. And in doing that, you're gonna maximize the percentage of your gains that come in the form of muscle rather than fat. You're still gonna gain fat no matter what. Keep in mind, that's always part of the bulking process. But doing this is going to help you absolutely minimize it. If you do want to grab a complete step-by-step plan that shows you how to lay all of this out from A to Z, the workouts, the meal plans, and the few basic supplements, then you can check out my Body Transformation Blueprint. It will show you everything you need to know. You can click here, or you can head over to bodytransformationtruth.com. The link is in the description. Make sure that you're following me on social media. The official website is seannal.com. And if you liked the video, then feel free to share it, like it, comment on it, and subscribe if you haven't already. Talk to you guys again soon.